My name is Evelyn Clark, and at 32, I've been the one silently propping up my family for nearly a decade. As a tech security consultant based in the booming Tampa Bay area, I've bankrolled their lives. From the monthly mortgage payments on their suburban Orlando home to the lease on my brother's luxury SUV, even covering their endless premium streaming services and gourmet meal kit subscriptions. But last Sunday, at a family dinner where the tension was thicker than a humid Florida afternoon, everything finally shattered. My parents, Arthur and Joyce Clark, and my younger brother, Caleb, looked at me with open entitlement and delivered their ultimate demand. Caleb was getting married at the exclusive Vinoy Renaissance Resort in St. Petersburg, a picturesque, top-tier venue. The total price tag for his lavish ceremony and reception, the 50 zalozin, no less. And I was expected to foot the entire bill. I refused, suggesting we all, as a family, chip in according to our means. The room went instantly, shatteringly cold. You are banned from your brother's wedding until you formally apologize for your selfishness. My mother, Joyce, snapped, her voice cutting like a piece of broken glass. My father, Arthur, nodded in grave agreement, his eyes conveying an icy ultimatum. Caleb, meanwhile, just wore a smug, infuriating smirk, as if I had failed my sole duty in life: to fund his existence. Their monumental expectations crushed me. I felt like I was supposed to sacrifice my entire future, just to meet their extravagant demands. But this time, I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even say a word. I simply stood up, pushed my chair back with a deliberate scrape, and walked out, their glares burning a hole in my back. When I got back to my own quiet apartment in Tampa, I made a move so bold, so strategic, and so unexpected that it turned their world completely upside down. By Monday morning, my phone was an emergency beacon, flashing with over 30 missed calls. Texts flooded in, dripping with a mixture of confusion, rage, and manipulative guilt. They thought they could break me, that they could force me to bend to their will. But I was finally, irrevocably done being their ATM. What I did next changed everything, and they truly never saw it coming. My childhood in the St. Petersburg suburbs was once a tapestry of genuine warmth and shared dreams. Our small, split, level house under the towering palms hummed with a love that felt eternal. Mom filled our Sunday mornings with the scent of fresh, blueberry pancakes, her laughter dancing over the clatter of plates as she teased Dad about his over-cooked bacon. Dad, ever the meticulous planner, spun tales of legendary local fishermen or enchanted swamps, making Caleb and me double over with giggles. Caleb, 6 years my junior, was my loyal sidekick. We'd spend sticky summer days building forts from mismatched furniture, crowning ourselves knights of an imaginary tech kingdom. As the older sister, I cherished guiding Caleb. When he struggled with math concepts, I'd sit with him at our wobbly kitchen table, breaking down the equations until his face lit up with understanding. "You're the best, Evelyn," he'd chirp, his small hand squeezing mine. I fell in love with coding early. By middle school, I was troubleshooting and building simple programs on our clunky desktop. Python became my language, each line a step toward a future I could shape and control. Caleb would hover nearby, watching me debug, whispering, "You're going to build something amazing, Evelyn." His faith pushed me to dream bigger. Mom and Dad poured their hearts into us, despite their financial struggles. Mom's retail job left her wary, but she'd still braid my hair before school, humming softly. Dad juggled odd jobs, mowing lawns, fixing neighbors' leaky faucets, but he always made time to cheer loudest at my science fairs. But as we grew, the cracks began to show. Arthur and Joyce began giving Caleb extra attention. Brand new athletic gear for him while my sneakers wore thin, or praising his small, fleeting sports victories while my straight-A report cards and coding awards received a quick, dismissive nod. When I spent hours studying advanced coding, Mom would say, "Don't strain yourself, Evelyn, it's just a job." But she would beam with pride when Caleb was invited to a party, even if his grades were slipping. Dad started letting Caleb skip his chores, saying, "He's young. Let him focus on being social." Meanwhile, I scrubbed dishes and folded mountains of laundry. One afternoon, I overheard Mom telling Dad, with devastating clarity, "Caleb needs us more. Evelyn's always fine." The words landed like a physical weight, planting a bitter seed of doubt. Was I less important because I worked harder, because I was the responsible one? The favoritism grew subtle but sharp. Caleb got a brand new, expensive laptop for college. I used my scholarship money to buy a refurbished one. When I won a regional coding contest in college, Dad simply said, "Nest job," but spent the entire dinner raving about Caleb's first, low-paying summer internship. I told myself it was normal. Siblings drift, parents have favorites. But it felt like a cold betrayal of our old, united family bond. I kept pushing forward, diving deeper into my studies, determined to prove my value through sheer, undeniable success. In my early 20s, after graduating at the top of my class, I landed a lucrative tech security consultant role in Orlando. My salary dwarfed anything my parents had ever earned. At first, it felt like a triumph, a chance to finally give back to the family that had struggled to raise us. It started innocently with a single phone call from Mom, her voice thick with worry. "Evelyn, the mortgage payment is due, and we're short this month. Can you help, just this once?" I sent the full payment instantly, relieved to ease her stress. Then Caleb, fresh from dropping out of his third attempt at community college, needed a place to figure out his path. So, I covered his rent, $2,500 a month for a trendy downtown apartment in a high-rise. When Dad's old car broke down, I paid for a brand new 3-year lease on a luxury SUV, thinking it was my duty to keep them mobile and stable. The requests never stopped. Mom called again, asking to add her entire family, us including Caleb, to my premium credit card for emergency use. Cards they promptly used for luxury streaming bundles, designer clothes, and expensive meal kits. Dad started mentioning other bills, car insurance, their phone plans, and even a completely unnecessary pool heater replacement, each time with a new, stronger hint of expectation. Caleb's texts were blunt and demanding. "Need 800 for an investment by Friday." Or, "Can you spot me for a new pair of sneakers?" I'd send the money, only to see him post photos of himself at pricey St. Pete bars or showing off new gadgets. The gratitude I'd expected was non-existent. Each call carried a new, heavier demand, and their unshakable assumption that I would always say yes began to weigh on my soul. My personal savings, once a growing, secure nest egg for my future, started to shrink alarmingly. Dreams I'd held close, like buying my own condo or taking that long, promised trip to Europe, felt like distant stars slipping further away with every check I wrote. I pushed myself harder at work, taking on late, night security shifts to cover their growing, endless costs. My pride in my demanding job was slowly overshadowed by the crushing financial pressure from home. One night, I confessed everything to my friend Maya, a fellow tech professional, over coffee in downtown Tampa. "They're draining me, Maya," I confessed, my voice shaking. "Every single call is another ask, and they don't even pretend to care what it costs me." Amaya leaned forward, her gaze steady. "Evelyn, you are not their bank. They are not asking for help, they are taking advantage of you. This is pure exploitation." Her words stung, a truth I had been desperately trying to avoid. I tried setting boundaries once during a call with Mom. "Mom, can we please split some of these costs?" I asked gently. She laughed it off. "You're doing so well, Evelyn. Why make a fuss? You earn more than enough." Dad overheard and chimed in, "Family helps family. Don't be selfish now and turn your back on us." Caleb didn't even engage. He just sent another text demanding cash for a new gaming console. Their dismissals cut deep. I kept hoping they would eventually see how much I was sacrificing, that they would finally step up and take some responsibility for their own lives. But the demands only escalated. If you've ever had a family turn on you for daring to set a boundary, I want to hear your story. Please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to see more powerful, true stories like this one. Also, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new videos. And share your family experience in the comments below. It all came to a head at that disastrous Sunday dinner. The air in the dining room was thick with unspoken tension. But Caleb, completely oblivious, decided to drop his bombshell as we passed the mashed potatoes. "I'm getting married this fall," he announced, his voice oozing self-importance. "It's going to be huge. We're talking the Vinoi Renaissance Resort. Open bar, the works. It'll be 50,000. He looked straight at me, expectant, as if I were already reaching for my checkbook. I'd been funding their lives for years, but this was a new, staggering level of audacity. I took a deep, steadying breath. "That sounds lovely, Caleb," I said, keeping my tone even and neutral, "but that is a very significant amount of money. Maybe we should all discuss how to pitch in. The table went silent. Mom's fork froze mid-air. Dad's eyes narrowed into slits of accusation. Caleb leaned back, crossing his arms with a mocking expression. Pitch in. He scoffed, dripping with contempt. You're the one with the fancy tech security job, Evelyn. You're the one who is supposed to handle this. It's your duty. I pushed back, my voice steady but firm. I've been handling everything for years. I pay your mortgage, your car, and your lifestyle. It is long past time that everyone in this family starts contributing to their own lives. A mom slammed her glass down, her face instantly turning crimson. You are being selfish, Evelyn, she snapped, her voice rising to a shriek. This is your brother's only big day. You want to ruin it. Dad leaned forward, his voice low and cutting, laced with menace. If you can't support your own family during this milestone, you don't belong at the wedding. Apologize for your ungrateful attitude or you are permanently out. The words hit me like a physical slap. Caleb just smirked, already celebrating his victory. I looked at them. Mom's furious glare, Dad's clenched jaw, Caleb's triumphant sneer, and felt something essential break inside me. They weren't asking for help. They were demanding my life. I stood up, my chair scraping painfully against the wooden floor. I am not apologizing, I said, my voice cold, calm and utterly final. You don't get to dictate my life or my finances anymore. Mom gasped, muttering about disrespect. Dad pointed sharply toward the door. Then you are not welcome here. You are no daughter of mine. Caleb just shrugged, dismissing me as the unreasonable one. I walked out, their angry shouts echoing in the stairwell. In my car, I gripped the steering wheel, their cruel words, selfish, ungrateful, not family, pounding in my head. They didn't see me as a daughter or a sister. They saw me as a resource. And I had let them. I drove home, my mind racing. I wasn't just hurt, I was burning with righteous anger. I was angry at them for taking me for granted. But more than anything, I was angry at myself for letting it go this far. I'd always thought family meant sacrifice. But this wasn't sacrifice. It was financial exploitation. I opened my laptop, pulled up my bank accounts, and stared at the total amount I had transferred over the years. I wasn't going to let them manipulate me with guilt anymore. I was done being their safety net. That night, I made a choice. I was going to do the one thing they never expected. The next morning, I executed my plan. My first call was to my old college friend Ben, who worked in wealth management. I'm drowning, Ben. I said, my voice tight but steady. I need to cut the financial cord, and I need to do it with surgical precision. Ben was pragmatic. He helped me identify every single point of financial support, the mortgage auto draft, the car lease, the shared credit cards, and Caleb's monthly allowance. His advice was clear: stop all automatic payments, freeze the shared accounts, and send a clear, written message that left absolutely no room for misinterpretation. I also consulted a lawyer friend for preemptive advice. She warned me, family can react unpredictably when the money stops flowing. Document everything, Evelyn. You are preparing for a battle. Her words felt like a shield. Back at my desk, I logged into my bank portal. My hands trembled as I clicked cancel on the automatic payments for their mortgage and utility bills. I accessed the credit card portal and froze the cards they'd used for shopping sprees and weekends away. Each click lifted a physical weight from my shoulders, even as a fresh wave of fear gripped me. I drafted the email, keeping it professional, concise, and firm to Arthur, Joyce, and Caleb. After years of unilateral financial support, I can no longer continue to cover your personal and household expenses. All automatic payments and shared credit card access will cease permanently in 1 month. Please make immediate and necessary arrangements for alternative housing and bill payments. This decision is final. I paused over the send button, rereading it, ensuring it was direct but not overtly cruel. Then, I clicked send. My phone stayed quiet, but I knew the storm was brewing. I lay awake that night, bracing myself for the inevitable onslaught. I had crossed a line they never expected me to cross, and there was no turning back. The following afternoon, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Those 30 missed calls finally came through. Their voicemails were a barrage of accusations. How dare you cut us off? You're tearing this family apart. Fix this immediately. Evelyn, you owe us. I didn't respond. I simply took screenshots of every incoming message and call. Documentation. That evening, a frantic, aggressive knock rattled my apartment door. I opened it to find Mom, Dad, and Caleb standing there, their faces contorted with white-hot rage. Mom stormed in first, her voice piercing. "What is wrong with you, Evelyn? You think you can just pull the plug and ruin our lives? Where are we going to live?" Dad crossed his arms, his stare icy and accusatory. "This is betrayal, Evelyn. We raised you better than this. You are destroying your brother's future." Caleb leaned against the wall, his smirk returning. "You're really going to let me lose my home and jeopardize the wedding over a stupid $50,000? I stood firm, my heart hammering a furious rhythm against my ribs, but my voice remained steady. "I have paid for your mortgage, your cars, and your luxurious lifestyle for years," I said. "I'm done. You need to figure out your own finances." Mom's jaw dropped. "You ungrateful child," she hissed. "After everything we sacrificed, you abandon us." Dad stepped closer, pointing a rigid finger. "You're no daughter of mine if you keep this up." Before I could reply, my phone buzzed. It was Ben, calling from his office. I put him on speakerphone, needing a momentary distraction from the suffocating tension. His voice was heavy and serious. "Evelyn, I dug into some of the old records and found something you need to know," Ben said. "The money you were sending, years of it, allegedly for bills, was being pooled. Your parents and Caleb sank nearly all of it into a high-risk Tampa real estate fix and flip scheme last quarter. They were trying to get rich quick and create a legacy for Caleb. The deal tanked. They lost every penny." The room went instantly, morbidly still. Mom's face drained of all color, turning a sickly pale white. Dad looked away, his jaw clenched so tightly I thought it might shatter. Caleb shifted uncomfortably, his signature smirk entirely gone. I stared at them, my chest aching. All those years, I thought I was keeping them alive, covering basic necessities, helping them survive. But they had been gambling with my security, chasing a pipe dream they never once shared with me. "Is this true?" I asked, my voice barely a tremor. Mom stammered. "We thought it would work out. It was going to be a huge win." Dad muttered, defeated. "It was a sure thing, Evelyn. We were going to pay you back double." Caleb finally spoke, defensive and whiny. "It's not like you were broke. You could have kept helping until we recovered." I took a deep, final breath, studying their faces. The sheer entitlement, the lack of remorse. "You used me?" I said, my voice shaking but firm. "You took everything I gave you and threw it away. You lied, you hid it, and you tried to steal my future. This ends now. I am not your bank, and I am not your safety net." Mom's eyes widened, tears welling up. "You're kicking us out," she whispered. Dad grabbed her arm, his voice hard with wounded pride. "Let's go. She's made her choice." Caleb shot me a final, furious glare, muttering, "You'll regret this, Evelyn." They walked out the door, slamming it shut behind them with a deafening finality. I sank onto my couch, the pain of the revelation immense. But the weight of their control finally gone. A week later, I heard updates through Ben. They had to sell the house. The suburban Orlando home I'd worked so hard to sustain was gone. Caleb was working grueling, long shifts at a local coffee shop, barely affording shared housing. Mom had taken a job as a retail clerk, and Dad was driving for a ride, share service, desperately applying for office jobs. None of them reached out to me, not to apologize, not to explain, not even to beg. Instead, they took to social media. Mom posted a scathing, public Facebook rant calling me a heartless daughter who abandoned them to sink. Dad chimed in on Twitter, his post blunt. "Some kids forget what family means when they get a fancy paycheck." Aunt Lorraine, Mom's sister, amplified the posts, adding her own venom. Evelyn turned her back on her own blood. Their accusations spread quickly. Neighbors and old acquaintances piled on their comments. "How could you do this, Evelyn?" one wrote. "You are heartless and ungrateful," declared another. They crafted a toxic narrative where I was the villain, conveniently omitting the secret real estate gamble and the years of financial exploitation. The pressure mounted. A coworker hesitantly brought up the posts at lunch. A local church group, where Mom once volunteered, emailed me about mending family bonds. My name was now local gossip fodder in the community I had worked so hard to rise out of. I chose silence. I saved every screenshot, every comment, documentation. I wasn't going to sink to their level, trading barbs online. I focused on my own life, keeping my distance. 2 months later, I was living a life I never imagined. My money was finally, completely mine. I signed the papers for a beautiful, secure condo in the Tampa Bay area, a dream I'd shelved for years. The mortgage payments felt like a vow to myself, a definitive step toward my own, independent future. I took my first real vacation, a solo trip to Rome. Walking through the ancient city, I felt light, liberated. The crushing burden of my family's endless demands finally lifted. I severed all contact with Mom, Dad, and Caleb. I blocked their numbers, muted their accounts, and ignored the stray, guilt-inducing messages from mutual contacts. It was painful. Each silence stung with loss. But it was absolutely necessary for my survival. Not everyone turned away. Uncle Gregory Riley, Dad's brother, called one evening. "You did right, Evelyn," he said, his voice warm and firm. Standing up to their entitlement took real courage. And my grandma Helen, Mom's mother, sent a handwritten letter. "I'm proud you chose yourself," she wrote. Their support anchored me, a reminder that true family means mutual respect, not demands. Looking back, I saw how much I'd sacrificed to keep them afloat. Their demands, their lies, and their ultimate betrayal nearly broke me. But standing my ground brought me a peace and security I didn't know I could have. I wasn't the villain they'd painted. I didn't need their approval to know my worth. My own strength carried me through, allowing me to build a life that was finally mine, and mine alone. My story holds a crucial truth for anyone watching, especially those of us who prioritize family. Family is not about draining yourself dry. It is about mutual respect and love. If you are caught in a cycle of impossible demands, feeling that you owe more than you can possibly give, you are absolutely allowed to say no. You are allowed to choose your own security and your own future. It will be hard, and it will hurt, but your value is not defined by what others can take from you. Put yourself and your security first, and the rest will follow. What do you think? Have you ever set a boundary that cost you a relationship? Share your story in the comments below.